The 1% has a secret they're spending millions to keep hidden. The first $10,000 is the kill switch for their control over your life. While you're distracted by 3% cashback rewards and buy now, pay later schemes, the system is terrified of you hitting 5 figures. Why? Because $10,000 is the exact moment you stop being a predictable source of interest income for banks and start becoming a threat to the status quo. See, the modern economy is a gravity well designed to keep you at zero. If you have $2,000 in the bank, one flat tire or a single medical deductible resets your entire life. You're forced to stay in that cubicle, endure that toxic boss, and sign those high-interest loans just to survive. You aren't building wealth, you're just financing the system's yacht. But once you cross the $10,000 line, the physics of money flips. At $10,000, your money finally has mass. For the first time, compound interest isn't a theoretical math problem, it's a visible engine. This is where you unlock FU power. You can walk away from bad deals, wait for better opportunities, and finally stop playing defense. Most Americans spend 40 years fighting a war they can't win because they're missing the right weapon. Today, we aren't just talking about savings, we're performing the ultimate prison break. Welcome to Sky Invests. Let's dismantle the script. Let's look at your bank account. If you're sitting on less than $2,000, you aren't just saving, you're being harvested. In the US, being poor is actually more expensive than being rich. It's called the slave tax. Think about it, big banks like JP Morgan Chase or Wells Fargo charge you a monthly maintenance fee just to hold your money because your balance is too low. But the guy with $100,000? He gets it for free. You get hit with a $35 overdraft fee because you were $2 short on a grocery bill, while the elite get private wealth managers and zero-interest lines of credit. These aren't just fees, they are the invisible chains designed to keep your head just below the waterline. While you're trying to save that first couple of grand, the Federal Reserve is busy printing more money, effectively devaluing every dollar in your pocket. In 2026, a 3% inflation rate means your $1,000 is shrinking while you sleep. You're running on a treadmill that's moving backward. And here's the kicker, the system needs you to stay in this $0 to $2,000 zone. Why? Because when you're desperate, you're compliant. You'll accept that stagnant wage, you'll work that 60-hour week, and you'll never have the time wealth to sit down and figure out how to replace your boss. Your lack of liquidity is their greatest leverage. Now, let's talk about the ultimate psychological leash, your credit score. The system has convinced you that a high score is the goal. They want you focused on your ability to borrow rather than your ability to own. They give you a shiny piece of plastic with a 24% APR and tell you it's for emergencies. But here's the truth, when you have $10,000 in cash, nothing is an emergency anymore. Car breaks down? You pay cash. Medical bill? You negotiate and pay cash. By keeping you obsessed with your credit score, they keep you trapped in a cycle of debt where you're forever paying for your past instead of investing in your future. The final chain is the velocity gap. When you have $500, every dollar goes to survival, rent, gas, food. The velocity of your money is zero, it hits your account and leaves instantly. But at $10,000, money gains inertia. It stays long enough to be put to work. You've been told that amassing wealth is about luck or hard work. It's not. It's about escaping the gravity of zero. Until you hit that 5-figure mark, you are playing a rigged game where the house always wins. Mission 1 is about realizing that you aren't just broke, you are being actively suppressed. It's time to stop being a line item on a bank's profit sheet and start becoming a threat to the system. The chains are invisible, but the keys are in the math. Mission 1, complete. Next up, we deal with the monster under your bed, lifestyle inflation. If Mission 1 was about the chains the banks put on you, Mission 2 is about the chains you put on yourself. In America, we don't just buy things, we buy identities. The system has spent over 100 years perfecting a psychological weapon called consumerism. Its only goal? To make sure that every time you get a $500 raise, you find a $600 way to spend it. You see it every day. The monster isn't a scary beast in the woods, it's that limited time offer notification on your phone. It's the targeted ad that knows exactly which pair of sneakers you were looking at 20 minutes ago. It's the Prime Day frenzy that makes you feel like you're losing money by not spending it. This monster is hungry, and its favorite food is your first $10,000. Let's talk about the biology of being broke. Every time you click place order, your brain gets a hit of dopamine. It feels like a victory. But in 2026, the cost of that 3-second high is a 3-year debt sentence. Companies have mastered the art of removing payment friction. With Apple Pay, Face ID, and one-click checkout, you aren't even spending money anymore, you're just tapping a screen. But here is the brutal math, that $1,200 iPhone isn't just $1,200. If you're at level 0, that $1,200 is actually $10,000 of your future wealth stolen by the monster. If you invested that money into a compounding asset at a 10% return in 25 years, that phone cost you over $13,000. The monster doesn't want you to see the future cost, it wants you to feel the instant gratification. It trades your freedom for a shiny piece of glass that will be obsolete in 18 months. The monster's most effective weapon is social comparison. In the US, we are obsessed with lifestyle signaling. You see your neighbor get a new Tesla, and suddenly your perfectly fine Toyota feels like a piece of junk. You see an influencer in Bali, and your backyard feels like a prison. The consumerism monster has convinced us that our self-worth is tied to our net spending, not our net worth. We are a nation of people who look rich but are actually drowning. We drive $60,000 SUVs to jobs we hate to pay for houses we're too tired to live in. This is the signal trap. The monster wants you to signal wealth before you actually possess it. Because once you're locked into a $700 car payment, you're officially a permanent resident of the gravity well. You can't quit. You can't pivot. You're owned. In 2026, the consumerism monster evolved. It gave us BNPL, buy now, pay later. It's the crack cocaine of finance. It tells you, don't worry about the $400 price tag, it's just 4 easy payments of $100. It's designed to bypass the pain centers of your brain. When you split a payment, you lose track of the total. Suddenly, you have 15 different small payments hitting your account every month. You're being nibbled to death by ducks. The monster loves BNPL because it keeps your balance hovering right at that $1,000 mark, just enough to keep you alive, but never enough to let you escape. To kill the monster, you have to stop thinking in monthly payments and start thinking in total ownership cost. So, how do we kill it? We practice radical financial minimalism until we hit the $10,000 mark. You need to become an undercover millionaire. Step 1, the 72-hour rule. If you want to buy something non-essential, you wait 72 hours. Usually, the dopamine fades, and the monster loses its grip. Step 2, calculate the work hour price. That $200 dinner isn't $200. If you make $25 an hour after taxes, that dinner is 8 hours of your life. Ask yourself, is this meal worth 8 hours of sitting in that office chair? Step 3, kill the subscriptions. We are being drained by $15 a month leeches. If you don't use it every single week, execute it. The monster hates these rules because they starve it. When you stop feeding the consumerism monster, your bank account starts to grow mass. You start feeling a different kind of dopamine, the dopamine of security. The dopamine of knowing that no matter what happens tomorrow, you are untouchable. Mission 2 is about regaining control of your desires. Stop being a spectator in your own life, buying things to impress people you don't even like. Kill the monster. Save the cash. Mission 2, complete. Next up, we enter the most dangerous territory yet, the dead zone. You've escaped the chains of the banks in Mission 1. You've starved the consumerism monster in Mission 2. You've got maybe $5,000 or $7,000 in the bank. And suddenly, everything goes quiet. No more big wins. No more dopamine hits from saving for the first time. This is the dead zone. In the US, this is where 90% of wealth-building dreams go to die. It's the gap between $5,000 and $10,000. It's too much money to feel broke, but it's too little money to feel rich. You're in financial purgatory. You're working just as hard as before, but the numbers on the screen aren't moving fast enough to keep you excited. The newness has worn off, and the freedom is still too far away. In the dead zone, your brain starts playing tricks on you. You look at that $6,000 balance and think, man, I've been grinding for months. If I just spend $2,000 on a weekend in Vegas or a new set of golf clubs, I'll still have $4,000. That's more than I used to have. This is a false summit. The system knows that humans aren't wired for delayed gratification over long periods. We are wired for the hunt and the kill. But building wealth isn't a hunt, it's a siege. In the dead zone, your biggest enemy isn't the bank or the monster, it's boredom. Boredom is the silent killer of compounding. If you break your momentum here, you don't just lose the money, you lose the financial velocity you've spent months building. You reset your internal clock back to zero. Here is the math secret the dead zone tries to hide from you. Even though the surface is calm, underneath, your money is starting to gain structural integrity. Think of it like building a skyscraper. For months, all people see is a giant hole in the ground with some rebar and concrete. It looks like nothing is happening. People walk by and say, "Where's the building?" But that foundation is what allows the 100th floor to exist. When you have $7,000, your interest might only be a few dollars a month. It feels pathetic, but those dollars are the cells of your future empire. In the dead zone, you aren't growing your bank account, you're growing your discipline muscle. Every time you say no to a mid-range luxury while in this zone, you are literally rewiring your prefrontal cortex. You are becoming the type of person who can handle $100,000, because if you can't handle the boredom of $7,000, you'll definitely blow the $70,000. While you're sitting in the dead zone, the external world will try to pull you back. In 2026, the cost of living doesn't care about your progress. Rent goes up, gas spikes. Your friends, who are still trapped in Mission 1, will try to guilt you into spending. Come on, you've got the cash now, don't be a cheapskate. This is the crab mentality. When one crab tries to climb out of the bucket, the others pull him back down so they don't have to feel bad about staying at the bottom. The dead zone is a test of your social spine. You have to be okay with being the boring friend for a few more months. You have to realize that their fun is financed by debt, while your boredom is financed by future freedom. So, how do you survive Mission 3? You stop looking at the balance every day. You automate the siege. Set your transfers, delete your banking apps for a week at a time, and find a non-financial hobby that keeps your brain occupied. The dead zone ends the moment you see that fifth digit. The second that $9,999 turns into $10,000, the psychological fog lifts. The invisible foundation is finished. Suddenly, you aren't just a guy with some savings, you're a guy with a 5-figure net worth. In the US, that puts you ahead of 60% of the population instantly. You've survived the desert. You've kept your head down. Now, look up. Because the gates to Mission 4 are opening, and on the other side, the laws of physics are about to break in your favor. Welcome to the other side. If you're watching this, you've either hit the number or you're visualizing the moment you do. The second your balance hits $10,000, the financial weather in your life changes. It's no longer about dodging raindrops, it's about controlling the climate. In the US, $10,000 is the escape velocity. Below this number, money is a fleeting guest. It arrives on Friday and leaves by Monday. But at 5 figures, money starts to develop Massachusetts. And in the universe of finance, mass creates gravity. For the first time in your life, you aren't just working for dollars, your dollars are starting to apply for jobs to work for you. This isn't just a milestone, it's a mutation of your entire economic reality. The first thing that dies at $10,000 is the financial panic. In Missions 1 and 2, a blown head gasket or a $500 dental bill was a catastrophe. It was a crisis that required a high-interest credit card or a call to your parents. But at $10,000, the emergency is downgraded to a minor inconvenience. You don't lose sleep. You don't feel that tightening in your chest. You simply write a check. This is the psychological dividend. When you aren't living in a state of constant survival, your cortisol levels drop, and your decision-making IQ literally increases by 10 to 15 points. You stop making desperation moves and start making calculated moves. You finally have the FU power to say no to a toxic boss or a shady side hustle because you know you have a 6-month runway of pure, cold freedom. Now, let's talk about the threshold effect. Below $10,000, most high-level investment strategies are closed to you, or the fees eat your profits alive. But once you have 10 grand, the adult table of the economy opens up. You can now maximize a Roth IRA with one click. You can move money into high-yield savings accounts, HYSA, that actually return meaningful amounts. You can participate in T-bills or treasury bonds with enough capital to see real interest hitting your account every month. At $1,000, a 5% return is $50, hardly enough for a steak dinner. At $10,000, that same 5% is $500. That's a car payment. That's a month of groceries. That's passive survival. You are now seeing the first glimpses of a world where your labor isn't the only thing putting food on the table. The system that used to harvest you for fees is now forced to pay you interest to keep your capital in their vault. The roles have officially reversed. In the 2026 economy, $10,000 is your seed corn. Most people eat their seeds. They get a tax refund or a bonus and they buy a vacation. You're planting yours. The most dangerous thing about the $10,000 mark is the opportunity velocity. When a market dip happens, or a specific stock becomes undervalued, or a local business needs a small cash injection, you are the person with the dry powder. While everyone else is locked in their invisible chains, you are the shark in the water. You can buy the dip. You can invest in your own education or a scalable digital product. $10,000 spent on a high-income skill or a Notion-based business template can turn into $100,000 in 18 months. At $1,000, you couldn't afford the risk. At $10,000, you can afford to fail once or twice because your foundation is built on rock, not sand. You aren't just saving anymore, you are capitalizing. Don't get it twisted, $10,000 isn't the finish line. It's the starting gun, but it's the only part of the race that feels like you're running uphill. Statistically, the journey from $0 to $10,000 takes more discipline and grit than the journey from $10,000 to $100,000. Why? Because now you have momentum. You've proven to yourself that you can beat the consumerism monster. You've proven you can survive the dead zone. You've mastered the financial physics that keeps the rest of the country broke. From here on out, the game is about scaling. It's about taking the $10,000 kill switch and turning it into a wealth engine. You aren't a background NPC anymore. You are the player character in your own financial RPG. If you're ready to scale to the next level, drop a 10K in the comments. Let the system know you're coming for it. Most people hit $10,000 and think they've arrived. They haven't. They've just reached the starting line of the real game. In the old reality, your growth was linear: work more hours, get more pay. In the new reality, your growth is exponential. The jump from $0 to $10,000 was a 100% manual grind. But the jump from $10,000 to $100,000 is where the mathematics of wealth takes over the heavy lifting. At a 10% return, your $10,000 makes you $1,000 a year just for existing. That's your phone bill, your internet, and your gym membership paid for by a pile of cash that never disappears. You are now officially subsidized by capitalism. Now, let's talk about the high ROI pivot. In 2026, the S&P 500 isn't your only investment. Your biggest asset is your human capital. With $10,000 in the bank, you have the risk capital to buy time. Instead of working a second job for $20 an hour, you can spend $2,000 on an elite AI certification, a high-ticket sales masterclass, or building a SaaS prototype. If that skill increases your income by just $1,000 a month, that's a 120% annual return on investment. Wall Street can't give you that. Only your $10,000 safety shield allows you to take that bet without fearing homelessness. You aren't just saving for a rainy day. You are financing your own professional evolution. This is where 95% of Americans fail. The moment they have $10,000, they signal it. They upgrade the car lease, they buy the designer bag, they tell the world they've made it. Don't. In Mission 5, we initiate the Ghost Protocol. You live exactly like you did when you had $1,000. Why? Because the gap between your lifestyle and your income is your wealth velocity. If you make $5,000 but live on $3,000, that $2,000 surplus is a soldier you send out to capture more territory. If you upgrade your life now, you kill your soldiers before they can go to war. The new reality is about being rich in private while appearing average in public. Real power is having 6 figures in brokerage and driving a 10-year-old Toyota. So, what's the immediate next move? You automate. You move your $10,000 into a war chest and you set a recurring wealth tax on yourself. You stop checking the balance for feel-good hits and start checking your asset allocation. The system is still out there, waiting for you to slip up. It's waiting for you to get comfortable so it can sell you a lifestyle you don't need. Stay focused. The $10,000 mark was the escape. The $100,000 mark is the fortress. We are building a life where work is optional and freedom is the default setting. You've graduated from the struggle. Now, let's master the scale. If you're committed to being an undercover millionaire and hitting that $100,000 fortress, hit that subscribe button. We're dropping the specific asset breakdown in the next video. Comment blueprint if you're ready for the math.